Acclaimed acoustic guitarist Tommy Emmanuel is back in Australia at the moment, touring his new show. Like many of us, he's been deeply affected by the drought conditions. His family settled in Parks in central New South Wales, pretty near Trangie there actually, where the Prime Minister is today. His younger brother's one of many farmers struggling with the lack of rain in the region. Tommy Emmanuel joins us live now here in the studio.
How you doing?
Get very well.
Thanks for having me out.
Oh, it's great to see you here, really.
Thank you. This is fantastic to see the government taking this action. This is really what the country needs. And I'm very, very proud of them.
You live obviously in Nashville, in the US.
I do. I obviously was born here and grew up here, and I used to work on a wheat sheep farm out in Cookamidgera, outside of Parks. And now my little brother Darcy, I was talking to him yesterday, and he was so sad because he had to go shoot the sheep. You know, so the lambs could survive, but the mothers couldn't stay on their feet. You know, they just couldn't stand up.
And for those farmers, I mean, it's not just sheep to them; it's their livelihood.
Of course, it is. Yes.
Yeah, they've got that emotional connection as well.
Yeah, and so you know, this is a great thing. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, it's been pretty well received around the blocks, as it should be, I guess. We do want to talk about your music as well, however.
Thanks. Okay.
Now, Tommy, I think most of us here have been a pretty huge fan of yours for a pretty long time. You've been at this guitar thing for more than 50 years now.
I think it's starting to take off. You know?
Are there still things about this instrument that are mysterious to you? You're still unlocking secrets. Let's talk us through that.
Well, you know, my hero when I was a kid was Chet Atkins, and he always said to me, never stop looking to unlock the secrets of because there's so much in that little space. There's so many opportunities to do something different, and you know, every guitar player has a different sound, a different approach, and a different wiring. Basically, you know, I hear the way I learn a song is I kind of see the big picture. I hear the song, I see the movie in my head, I work it out and play it. You know, whereas some people have to learn it one little bite at a time and then piece it together. The way I'm wired, I see the whole thing. And when I write, I can't read and write music, right? So everything's by ear. And so I try to write as if I'm writing for a singer in a band. You know, so there's a melody, there's harmonies, there's a groove, there's bass, and I see the whole picture as I'm going, you know.
In fact, Chet Atkins has named, I think you and just 5 others, or you're one of 5 certified guitar players. What does that mean?
We all should be certified, that's for sure. Crazy to be in this business. It was an honour given to me back in '99, and on my award it says for lifetime contribution to the art of fingerpicking. There are 3 of us left. All the rest are gone. And it was like a moniker that Chet Atkins figured that, you know, people go to university for 3 years and they become a Bachelor of Arts and all that stuff. He said, we spend a whole life doing this and trying to bring people together through music, and there's nothing we can put on the wall to say this is what we've done, you know. So he invented it, and the original thing was signed by the governor of every state of the United States.
The guitar's such an interesting instrument, isn't it? I mean, I think if you look through the history of it, at one stage was sort of almost the background in most bands, and then you know you look through the 40s, you've got Charlie Christian, you've got Django Reinhardt, and starts to become to the fore as an instrument in its own right. These days, it's the instrument that everyone can play.
Well, it takes me around the world every year, and it's a great. It's a weapon of mass construction. That's what it is. It brings people together. And I think now that we have the internet, we have YouTube and all that stuff, I think this younger generation are seeing that they can learn too. They just have to watch and you can slow it down. You know, the younger generation actually have no excuses because it's all laid out in front of them, you know. And
well, for those of us that are rock stars in our own lounge room, such as myself, what advice would you have for people trying to get better at this thing that just about anyone can play?
Well, first of all, you've got to have a certain amount of determination and a lot of dedication. But my best advice for young people is learn good songs. Don't don't settle for the mediocre stuff. Go to the top shelf and learn those good songs. Steal all you can from all the greats, because that's what they did, and that's what we all do. You know, I remember playing something in front of Chet Atkins one day, and he said, "That's petty theft."
Oh, right. Now, Tommy, you've suffered some tragedy this year. I'm very sorry.
I've lost 2 family members this year.
Just tell us about that, and also the role that music has played in your journey with that.
Well, my brother Phil, who passed away just recently, and that was such a surprise. He was really my guardian angel all my life. Him and I had a relationship that was just deep, and he's irreplaceable, you know. And he watched my back when we were growing up, and he would, because he was older, his ear was much more advanced. He'd hear a song on the radio and say, "That's D, B minor, G, blah blah blah," and in 5 minutes we'd have a new song because of him, you know. And he'd do stuff like, he'd call me up and say, "Hey, get over here, you got to see this," and he'd show me something, you know, a video of someone playing something, or he'd play me Dark Side of the Moon, or something that I would have never heard before, you know, to try to educate me, you know. So, and he was a wonderful brother.
And your sister Virginia was played the Hawaiian guitar.
She did, that's right.
Beautiful instrument. So, a very musical family. How would you like her to be remembered? She died also this year.
She, again, like Phil, she loved the bush. She loved animals. She taught people about the environment and the importance of us taking care of our planet. And you know, the Aboriginal people up there in the northern Queensland really loved her and respected her. And at her funeral, we had 2 Aboriginal ministers come and do the service, and they sang, and it was really, really beautiful.
The musical gift obviously runs deep through your blood.
Well, you trace it back to my mother, who inspired us all when we were kids. You know, my mother was one of these ladies who she was cooking, she had the washing on, she had 6 kids around her, and she danced and sang through the day. You know, it was amazing.
Yeah, wonderful way to grow up.
You do live in Nashville. Why are you here in Australia?
I'm here to play some guitar festivals, and I just played Nowra and Canberra.
You can play a little bit for us, by the way, if you want.
Absolutely. So this week coming, we have a memorial concert for Phil, and that's in Brisbane at the Tivoli. And then I go to Adelaide for the International Guitar Festival, and then I come up here next weekend. I'm playing at the Enmore Theatre and the other place out at Chatswood. And that's for the Sydney Guitar Festival, which is going to be a great event this year. Some wonderful people coming, Albert Lee and Pedro Javier Gonzalez, and
you're playing the Blues Fest, I think, next year. Obviously, it's a big one, the 30th anniversary. So
I haven't played that for a long time, so I'm planning some pretty major stuff here next year. So. And
can you play potentially a little bit for us now?
Sure, you better. Just on this mic here.
Yeah.
All right. This is the song. This is the song I wrote for Phil. It's called Sail On.
Great.
That really was. I'm sure Phil was
called Sail On.
He would have loved that. I'm sure that was just brilliant.
After I got over the shock of the news, I suddenly got this calmness that came over me, and I thought, you know what, the struggle is over. That's where that song came from. Sail On.
It's a beautiful tribute. Tommy Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming in this morning. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.